welcome back to my channel. In today's video, we are going to be continuing on with my purging of books as I go through the bottom half of my shelves to continue with my book unhaul. So you guys really enjoyed my first book unhaul where I did the two top shelves of my books. I got 4 of these bookshelves and I had intended to just do the whole video all as one, but it ended up taking me so long and I had so many books, so I decided just to split it into half. So this is going to be part 2. We're going to go through the bottom 2 shelves of my bookshelves and see what I can get rid of. I have had my taste change quite a bit since the last time I did a big unhaul like this. I get usually most of my books from either like Book Outlet really cheaply, or cheaply, is that a word? Really cheap? Or library sales, or garage sales, or thrift stores, stuff like that. So I get a lot of books for really cheap, and because of that, lots of times I'll pick up stuff because it's so cheap that I'll think, oh, maybe I'll be interested in this, maybe I'll want to read this later, and then I come back to it later on and realize, no, I don't have any interest in reading that. It's time to move on. So that's what we're going to do today. Let's not even bother with any more talk. Let's just get on into it. Okay, you guys, so I have gone through all the rest of my remaining shelves and I have picked quite a few that I'm going to be unhauling, and I also picked quite a few that I'm actually going to be doing a try a chapter tag probably later on this month. You guys will see that. So these are actually the books that I have decided to do the try a chapter tag with. These ones, I read the synopsis of them and they seemed kind of intriguing, but also I wasn't sure about them. I was on the fence with them. So I'm not going to go into the synopsis of these. I will let you guys know what they are in the next video in the try a chapter tag. But basically I will be just reading the first chapter of each of these books and then deciding whether or not I want to keep them, continue reading them, or get rid of them. So the first one is called The Ghost of the Mary Celeste by Valerie Martin. It's that one. Once again, I'll let you guys know the synopsis of them in the next video. This one is The Witch of Babylon by DJ McIntosh. Traveler's Rest by Keith Lee Morris. James Patterson. You'll see I have a few of his books in the unhaul bin. This one seemed... We'll see about it. It's called Truth or Die by James Patterson and Howard Ruffin. Yeah, I'm going to talk more about James Patterson in a minute here when we get to the unhaul pile. And then we've got Where by Kit Reed. And then we have this book, which is 2 in 1 by Frank Peretti, and this has This Present Darkness and Piercing the Darkness. So these are all books that will be featured in an upcoming video. I have one also in that pile from the last unhaul video that I did. So I have one more to add to that from the last video. But let's get on into the books that we're going to unhaul. So to start off with, I'm starting off with a bang and I'm unhauling all of these James Patterson books. I will be honest and let you guys know that I have never read a James Patterson book before. But a lot of his books focus on like murders and police agents, FBI agents trying to solve them. And I have found in the last couple of years that that is just a narration style that I do not like. I do not like books that tell the story through a cop or through an FBI agent trying to solve the murder. I just don't enjoy it. I don't enjoy like cop jargon. I don't know. It's not, I've never really been able to connect with a protagonist like that. I've never been able to connect with a police officer protagonist for whatever reason. I find them a little bit boring. Even if like the murder in them is interesting, I find them to be boring. And it's just not something that I typically read anymore. I have tried to read them in the past, and everyone that I have read, I've just ended up not really liking, and I've always given them under a 3. So I kind of connected the dots and realized that it's the protagonist that I'm not liking. I do not like that sort of narration. So that is what all 3 of these are. So this is The 12th of Never, First to Die, The Fifth Horseman, and Mary Mary. Also, a couple of these are from the series The Women's Murder Club novel. And I'm not sure if, like, there was one of these that kind of seemed sort of interesting, but I'm not sure if you have to read those in a certain order or not, or if they can be standalones. I'm not too sure. So I ended up getting rid of one of these just because I wasn't sure I could read it as a standalone. So either way, I'm not that invested in it, so I'm going to be donating these 4. So next is the book Abandoned Prayers, and it is by Greg Olson, The Shocking True Story of Obsession, Murder, and Little Boy Blue. So this is the true story of a little boy who was found murdered, left to die in a freezing Canadian winter outside. His body was found outside in a snowstorm. And I've always been huge into true crime. Love true crime. I always have, but since becoming a mother, it's become harder and harder for me to read cases about kids, which I think makes sense. And yeah, like this one does sound interesting for sure, but I just know that if I read this, it's going to really tug at my heartstrings, and it's going to make me very upset and uncomfortable because I have kids, and specifically I have 2 boys, and this is about a little boy, and it is about his father murdering him, so which is just something I cannot comprehend at all, and I just think it would upset me too much, so I'm gonna unhaul it. The next book is an anthology, and it is called Some Possible Solutions by Helen Phillips, and this one is just a bunch of different stories, and they all focus on the questions what if. So they give the examples: what if your perfect hermaphrodite match existed on another planet? What if you could suddenly see through everybody's skin to their organs? What if you knew the exact date of your death? What if your city was filled with doppelgangers of you? Faced to navigate these bizarre scenarios, Philip's characters search for solutions to the problem of how to survive in an irrational, infinitely strange world. So, I mean, while this is definitely a unique concept, and I'm sure all the stories in here would be very interesting and unique, it's just not something that I would typically be interested in. I guess I would find it kind of silly, and like it just wouldn't capture my attention, I don't believe. So this next one is called The Demonologist by Andrew Piper, and you might be thinking to yourself, Holly, that sounds like a book that would be right up your alley. Why are you getting rid of it? Well, it's because in all the times that I have rearranged my bookshelf, I did not realize that I had 2 copies of it. Even when I rearranged my bookshelves in alphabetical order and had these 2 books sitting side by side, put them there myself, did not realize it was the same book. So that's why I'm going to get rid of one. And I'm going to keep the hardcover. This one definitely sounds like it's right up my alley, for sure. So the next book is called Think of a Number by John Verdon. And the synopsis to this one says, the disturbing letters end with a simple declaration. Think of any number. Picture it. Now see how well I know your secrets. All those who comply find that the letter writer has predicted their choice exactly, and then the killings begin. Brought in as an investigative consultant to the murders, former homicide cop Dave Gurney soon embellishes deductive breakthroughs that leave local police in awe. Yet even as he matches wits with his seemingly clairvoyant opponent, Gurney is forced to confront the truth about what he's become, face the possibility that he's met an adversary who can't be stopped. So once again, this is like a cop protagonist, even an ex-cop, whatever. I just think I'm not going to be able to connect with this character whatsoever, and I'm not going to find it interesting. Even though the premise, like this number killer, does sound interesting, but I just realized I'm talking with my hands a lot. Sorry. So next is this book that was actually given to me, I think by a family member, but I'm not. First of all, I feel as though it's probably quite dated. Even just flipping through it, it looks quite dated. It's called Strange Stories, Amazing Facts. It's Reader's Digest. I was gonna say there's no author or anything, but it looks quite dated, and I just can't envision myself ever really looking at this. So I feel like it's probably just taking up, I mean, I'm sure some of the stories are interesting and the facts are interesting, but I just can't really see myself actually going through and reading this at any point. If I'm just being completely honest with myself, I can't see myself picking this up. Like, being out, considering I have so many books on my shelves that I really, really want to read and I'm excited to read, I just can't ever picture myself being like, okay, this is the one I'm going to pick up next. I just don't think it'll happen. And they are both memoirs. And I think important reads, which is why I picked them up in the first place or kept them on my shelves for so long, because I think that they probably send a message that I felt at the time when I got them that I should be reading, just because they're important works. But I've just tried to, in the last couple of years, come to terms with the fact that there's certain things that I'm going to be interested in and there's certain things that I'm not going to be interested in. And whether that is an important book or something that should be read, even like classics, I think a lot of people get into this feeling with classics, is like, this is a book everyone should read in their lifetime. And I've kind of struggled with that in the past, and I've just kind of started to come to the realization that I don't want to read something that I am not going to fully enjoy just because I feel like I should. And that's that. So I'm going to unhaul these two. This one is Amy McKay's The Birth House, and this one is Frank McCourt's Angela's Ashes, which I'm sure this one I think is probably a little bit more known than this one. But this one talks about growing up in Ireland, very poor, struggling in a lot of ways. And then this one follows, as I'm just reading through this, you guys, as I'm just like looking at this again, this is absolutely not a memoir, so I apologize. But I know that I've like heard that this book is very important. I know that I've heard that, so I mean, I guess the same sort of thing can apply to it. But this one I don't believe actually is a memoir, and I don't know where I even got that it was in the first place. But in any case, it follows, it's set in the World War I era, and it follows a midwife and someone apprenticing under her, and many just like talks about, you know, trying times. I can't speak now, I've flustered myself. Trying times that these women went through, which I'm sure would be very interesting, but it's just not for me. And same thing with this one, they're just not for me. Okay, you guys, and then the last book that we are going to discuss is The Arrivals by Melissa Marr, and this one I had picked up for $6 at Indigo, and it is described as an awesome fantasy / western. I'm not sure why I would have thought that that was for me in the first place, even picking it up. I don't know. But the synopsis says, the wasteland is a world beyond our own. It is rough and ragged landscape under a two-moon sky, inhabited by monsters and creatures that can almost pass for human. That's probably where it got me. Into this alternate world of unwitting people are brought from both past and present for reasons none of them know. Chloe Mattinson goes to sleep drunk and heartbroken in Washington, D.C. and wakes up in the wasteland. Chloe is welcomed by Jack and Kitty, brother and sister from a Wild West frontier town. You're one of us, they tell her, yet neither Jack nor Kitty nor any of their companions know why they were chosen. Two questions loom large in all of their minds. Why are we here? Is there a way out of this corrupt, demon-filled world? Equal parts The Matrix and The Wizard of Oz, The Arrivals is a page-turning adventure set in a world you would not soon forget. So, I mean, kind of sounds interesting, but once again, it's one of those things that with everything I have on my shelf, would I be picking this up anytime soon? Probably not. Alright, you guys, so that is going to end today's video and wrap up my huge unhaul over the span of 2 videos. This is part 2, so if you did miss part 1, I will have it linked somewhere, either in the description box or in an iCard here throughout this video, or you can just check on my channel. And I will say also, if you are still here to the end, thank you so much for watching all the way through. I really appreciate it. If you are new to the channel, I would really appreciate it if you went and hit the subscribe button. I'm on my way to 200 subscribers and I'm really excited about that. So please go ahead and do that if you want to catch more of my videos, and turn your bell on if you don't want to miss any of them. Anyways, I hope you guys are having an awesome day. Thank you for hanging out with me today, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!